Welcome back to the Right Take Report. Today, we're going to be diving into a CNN segment where they are truly at it again, now claiming that Nazis were treated better than illegal migrants deported by Trump. Yep, you heard it right. Comparing criminal deportations to the Holocaust is not just absurd, it's insulting the actual victims of a mass genocide. Let's break down this dishonest smear and expose CNN's shameless gaslighting. Let's get right into the video.
So the State Secrets Act is one of those rare and blessed things in the law that is almost exactly what it sounds like. It's when the government says, that's a state secret, we can't turn it over, it's too dangerous. It's rarely invoked. Usually judges do defer to it, not always. Judge Boasberg in this case actually knew this was coming. The government said they're considering it. Judge Boasberg said he's skeptical, in part because the government's already put out a video showing some of this. So he said, how sensitive can it be? We'll see what he does. But that won't end this. All that's going to do is end the judge's ability to get more information about the flights. Now, the Nazi comparison that the judge made today, was listening to the oral argument. The point the judge was making is the last time we as a country used this Alien Enemies Act was during and after, actually, World War II, where Germans who were suspected of being Nazi sympathizers were given a hearing before they were loaded onto planes, before they were deported. And that was really the key question at today's oral argument. What process, if any, are these people, in this case, the Venezuelan gang members, entitled to before they're shipped out? And the thing that I found was interesting is the Trump administration lawyer even said they are entitled to some due process. It's through this thing called habeas. It's not the greatest form of due process, but the Trump administration is on record now saying they are entitled to some form of due process.
Going forward or going backwards too? These planes are gone.
Right, that's the catch. It's really difficult legally and practically to bring a habeas lawsuit if A, you're out of the country. You can, but it's really hard if you're in El Salvador. And B, if the lawyers don't even know who you are, I don't know how they're even going to get in touch with counsels. And that was sort of one of the points of like, isn't this a little bit of a catch-22? You, government, you're saying they're entitled to bring these habeas cases, but it's almost impossible to do after the fact. And really the fault that the Judge Boasberg has laid on the government here is, even if you did not intentionally defy me, you played it real fast and loose. You had those planes ready to go. You could have waited. They were in the air. They were scrambled. And when I gave the order, it was apparently already too late.
All right, let's put a quick 2 cents in here. First off, the judge even making this comparison is absolutely tragic, as I said in the intro. It's unbelievable that someone could claim deportations are somehow worse than how Nazis were treated during the Holocaust. That is grotesque distortion of history. Let's get this real. The people being deported here are illegal immigrants, many with ties to Tren de Aragua, a violent Venezuelan gang, not genocidal war criminals. CNN's melodramatic framing makes it seem like these migrants were ripped from their homes with no reason. But no, many of these were criminals who infiltrated our borders. Even if you're associated with a criminal and you are illegal, that is a means to leave the country. But CNN is whining that at least Nazis were given a hearing. They were given a trial. But let's be clear. What kind of hearing do people who are in the country illegally deserve? The Trump administration invoked the Alien Enemies Act, a wartime authority, to expedite the removal of non-citizens. That is entirely legal, I must tell you. CNN conveniently ignores that these deportations were carried out under the law, not through some arbitrary lawless process. And let's not forget, Trump campaigned on mass deportations for over a year before even stepping foot in the White House. They knew this was coming. It wasn't some shocking, underhanded move. It was exactly what the American people voted for and what I voted for. The message was clear. Illegal immigration would be no longer tolerated. End of story.
Well, I think the challenge here is we actually don't know if a lot of these people, I don't trust the Trump administration to tell me who these people are and if they're actually gang members. In January, the Trump administration arrested over 1,200 people. ICE arrested over 1,200 people. Less than half were actually convicted criminals, where there was no evidence that they had done anything wrong other than step foot in this country.
Well, they don't have to be criminals. This is not a prosecution.
A lot of people were caught
Fair
with
enough.
criminals. They were executing warrants for criminals, so you might be a gangbanger. Your buddy's sitting on the couch next to you, also illegal. Those are people that got caught up in these dragnets. So I'm not upset one bit.
I think my point about them just randomly, indiscriminately rounding up people, I have flashbacks. I'm old enough to remember when they were doing this with actual children. And according to the Human Rights Law, or the Human Rights Watch rather, there are still over 1,300 children who they never reunited with their family. We don't know where they are. So I think
Why are these children here? Why is Tren de
because
Aragua
their
here?
families were trying to escape in comprehensible circumstances.
Can I just say reason
was
why
not
we-
during. It
the
was
reason
not
why
Joe
we don't
Biden's
know why who
administration that let them
Tren-de-Agua is,
in.
why there's children here,
Okay.
is because the failures of Joe Biden in letting
Again,
people
it
in.
goes back to Joe
unvetted.
Biden.
Yes,
He's
it
not
does.
the president right now.
He let the people
and
in.
the fact of the
They
matter,
came in
though,
because
is
Joe
that
Biden failed on the border.
Okay,
He
fine. If we
even
want to
flew
say
them
Joe Biden failed on the border,
plane,
fine. But the
brought
fact
them
of
here
the matter
to this
is,
country, and now
Joe,
Donald Trump is
Joe,
speaking.
then Tiffany, then Dan.
I point out, Ken.
All right, you're done? Okay. Tiffany.
Joe Biden let these people in. If she has a problem that we don't know who they are, that they were unvetted, this could have been solved in a regular immigration process where we would have seen, hey, you're a member of a gang. You can't come in.
Right.
Hey, you're not a member of a gang. You're welcome to come in.
Tiffany.
I don't think that is how it goes. And if we want to keep talking about the Joe
simplistic,
Biden
yes.
administration, then we can rewind time. But the fact of the matter is, when Donald Trump was in office the first time, he was a champion of separating
Right.
families. And as a result of that, John, I just want to say over 1,300 children remain lost. I do not trust
But
this
we are
administration.
We're talking about the
we're talking
Alien
about that.
Enemies Act here. We're talking about
I
using
understand
this
that.
wartime powers to
But there is
attract what
still
they
a
call
human
gang
rights
members.
issue,
Understood.
and the way that these people are treated is completely inhumane. And the fact of the matter is, if these were white babies being stripped from their families, if these were white men with families, there would be a whole different level of humanity extended to them. And I don't see that happening. The way these people are treated is absolutely criminal. Criminal.
I think the larger issue here is that this is a president and administration who's making a mockery of the law and only using the law when it's convenient for their agenda. Let me give you an example. Here, in the case of deportations, they disrespect due process. They say it's not needed. But when they fire 16,000 probationary employees and a judge says you can't do that, they say, wait a minute, due process, Supreme Court, come in. You're going to stop this and try to file an injunction. There is no consistency here. It's literally the whim of this president and his administration for whatever favors him. That's the problem.
Let me pull us back 40,000 feet or however the cruising altitude of those planes was. Right? Do you think there's not a comms team in the White House watching right now, giddy, that there's a member of the Biden administration, extolling the virtues of why we need to afford Tren-de-Agua due process
extol the
when there
virtues
was no
of
due
good
process
legal
for
process.
people when they came here.
I extol the virtues
and they
of
ended up
not
committing
firing
crimes.
inspectors
There's Laken
general
Riley, there's all
or
these
having an
people who've been
independent
raped.
DOJ. That's what I respect.
Right.
And you should too.
Branches of government. They're in open defiance of the judiciary right now.
No, they're in litigation right now. They're respecting the court, and they decided to invoke a legal statute to prevent any more information.
I'll quote an amazing legal analyst and say they played it fast and loose. Is that what
That's
you
what I
said?
said. Okay,
Yeah.
Scott, very
Yeah,
quickly.
I mean, obviously, there's a huge dispute between the executive branch and the judiciary over who's got what authority to do what here. I think the Trump administration has an argument to make. It's not going to be sorted out at the district or even Court of Appeals level. At some juncture, because it is a serious separation of powers issue, the Supreme Court has to step in. By the way, you invoked the word inhumane. I would just point out that I don't think Jessica Nungare or Laken Riley or any other victims of some of these illegal immigrants and gang members, they weren't treated very humanely. And I think what Trump is responding to is an outcry from the American people to solve this issue, to get the criminals out. And that's what they're doing. That's what they believe their mandate is to do. And I think there are legal arguments to be made, but you cannot deny that the American people are giving them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to exiting from the country.
All right, let's get into some of my final thoughts. Let's address the fact that 600 out of 1,200 deportees in his first day allegedly weren't involved in direct criminal activity. Here's the reality of this. Just because they weren't part of the gang itself doesn't mean they belong in the country. If you enter the United States illegally, you are breaking the law, period. Doesn't matter whether you're a part of a gang or not. CNN and their activist judges seem to think that non-criminal status somehow makes illegal immigration acceptable. It doesn't. And let's talk about the absurd claim that Trump was a champion of separating families. Give me a break on this. Obama was the one who put kids in cages, and immigration policy by Trump is just carrying it out in a correct fashion in terms of deportation. And Biden, he has practically erased our border, letting in millions of illegal immigrants. The leftist media conveniently forgets about all of this because it doesn't fit their orange man bad narrative. Finally, CNN's pathetic attempt to play the race card is so 5 years ago in terms of what that reporter said. Their commentator suggesting that if it were a white man's child, things would be different is just beyond crazy and lazy and tired news. Race has nothing to do with this. The only people playing identity politics here are the radical leftists desperately clinging to their victimhood narrative. Americans of all races are sick and tired of this. And in the end of the video, Scott Jennings nails it. The victims of illegal immigration, they are the ones that had their loved ones killed and are really the face of this movement and the reason why American people voted for Trump. They're the ones that have to deal with illegal alien criminals. And CNN is here supporting the right to due process for everybody. I mean, just stop it. At the end of the day, CNN's comparison of Nazi treatment to Trump's deportation policy is nothing more than historical revisionism designed to demonize Trump. It's really a slap in the face to any Holocaust victim and their families. But the truth is clear. Deporting illegal immigrants, especially violent ones, isn't just lawful, it's absolutely necessary. There's no amount of CNN's fake outrage that can change this. And I'm really hoping that you enjoyed this video. I'd love for you to subscribe to the Right Take Report. Please give me some constructive feedback in the comments. Make fun of me, do whatever. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.